So now to one of my favorite sessions, which actually customers doing cool things. So with that, I'm going to invite Jill and Luis on stage from MasOrange.
Thank you very much. We have chosen this song because the title tells everything we are going to tell today. Is a stairway to the heaven of the network we expect to have in the future. I am Luis Andres. I'm the Network Automation Manager in MasOrange, formerly Orange Spain. Now joined with MasMobile also.
Yes, and I'm Gilles Arumi. I'm a Solutions Development Architect from CX SP EMEA.
Okay, the agenda for today covers 4 parts. First, what we understand as automation networks, autonomous network. The autonomous network program we are defining in MasOrange. The automation journey we have followed in the last years. And the Cisco assessment did for us last year also. What we are going to share is a journey. And every journey starts with one step. And you don't need to hurry to final this journey as soon as you want. You will find problems, you need to solve it, and you have to be very careful. So enjoy the journey because it's long. What we understand as autonomous network. An autonomous network is not just a system that assists to do something. It goes beyond. An autonomous network must be able to optimize itself and to observe itself to deliver always the best performance for the customer in the lower time. In the example of a car, mostly known, now we have many automations to assist in the driving. The ABS, the GPS, the cameras, whatever. But you still need a person driving. Autonomous car will be when you will have an intelligence safe enough to remove the driver from the seat and you still put your life in its hands. And this is a challenge. This is not so easy. Some principles of the autonomous network program in MasOrange. Why and why now? The why is well known. Would improve users' experience, improve efficiency, reduce cost, increase benefits. You have heard these reasons in the past also for other network changes. But why now and why it's so important? The main reason is the customer rush. The customers now require everything at any time, in the lower time, and with no problem at all. You cannot rely on manual processes to deliver that requirements. So we need to reduce the complexity we have to deliver those services and do it in the best way. And now the technology to do that is becoming available. The aim for MasOrange is to have a self-X network, a self that is able to self-operate, self-configure, and self-assure its processes. And to do that, we must have a network that is able to observe itself with a proper OSS, based on telemetry mainly, to have an intelligence that can analyze those data and with the proper trained and safe artificial intelligence, take the decisions to make the changes through intent-based orchestrators that performs all these changes in a multi-vendor environment with no problem at all. In this plan, there are risks and also there are opportunities to deal with that risk. Right now, the complexity of the network is increasing more and more. We have not just a part of the access, a part of the peering, and that's all. All the service delivery is more complex than before. Also, the volumes of traffic is increased a lot, and we need to deal with that. The customer expect more quality than before and in lower time. So we need to deal also with that. How to do that? With intent-driven orchestration systems, making slices that can be updated automatically also, auto-detection of the failures to recover them as fast as possible, and automatizing all the operational scenarios we have in the network. The focus of the autonomous network is put in two main areas: network change management and network fault management. Because a network itself, when it is running, it can recover by itself, since the dynamic routing protocol exists. So for network change management, we expect to reduce the cost of the outsourced works. Thus, we reduce the impact as we remove the human from the equation. And then we can reduce also the time to market. With this, we allow to have a network with no configuration, and as important of the avoiding errors in the configuration is to avoid the inventory errors. For network fault management, we expect to have an early detection of the failures that let us automatize all the recovery of those failures, and then reduce the impact of those failures in the network, reducing also the mean time to recover. This will lead in a lower impact in the end users. For sure, we cannot do that in all the different domains we have a telecom network. We need to choose those domains that right now are feasible to be implemented. The fourth pillar where this program is based on: people, network, toolset, and operations. The people need to be trained with new skills that until now doesn't exist and they don't have. And they need to change their mindset, as the people usually used to do the things manually and is reluctant to change the way they behave. The network must evolve to be API-fied, to be accessed through APIs, not directly through command line, and have to trend to virtualization. The tools are the reason why we are here. We need to rely on orchestrators and intent-based systems that let us modelize the service. And also the OSS system must evolve to implement artificial intelligence to take the decisions we need to take to implement the previous requirements. And one of the most important is the operations. Is we need to rethink the way we operate the networks in an approach of automation first. Right now, every process that is defined in a big telecom network is defined with a handover between different departments. This must be removed completely from our way of work. Taking the levels of the TM forum from 0 to 5, right now, taking the evolution of the automation we have in MasOrange, consider we are in level 2, and our expectation is to reach level 4 for the domains we will put the focus on. This journey didn't start yesterday, neither last year. We began 7 years ago, choosing Cisco NSO as a network controller for the IP network in Orange, Spain. That part. Relying on Cisco, we developed the first use case and deployed the first instance of Cisco NSO to configure public IP pools into the network devices. It was very successful. We did it in a multi-vendor environment, abstracting many things. And we were very happy, but soon we realized that it is not enough to complete the automation of a process. We saw that we need to configure not just the network, but all the other systems and inventory associated with that process. Otherwise, we are not completing all the goals we expect to have. And sometimes the CLI of Cisco NSO is not easy enough to be used for certain users. So we need to simplify their usage. For that, in 2019, we acquired Itensia automation platform and also developed a customized web interface to simplify the user interaction. And between 2019 and 2022, we developed more than 150 use cases. Some of them very complex, some of them not so many, but very useful. And during that period, we learned a lot of things. Just 3 examples of the lessons learned. The first is when we developed the first use case I told to configure the IP pools in the network, we realized that we need to complete all the process that a person had to do. Otherwise, we automatize the network, but there are still manual things to do. So we create a process to configure the network, configure the DHCP server, the inventory, and everything. And it was successful, but it was not enough because the people still need to see previously what pools have to be updated. So we did a next phase to check the IP pools that have to be updated, get them from the inventory, update the network, update the DHCP server, inform the people, and do a closed loop. Right now, we have a closed loop with no human intervention that runs autonomously in a daily basis to solve that problem. So in that time, we have seen that we need to understand the complete process to be sure that we are going to success in that automatization. Otherwise, we just get a part, but we don't get all the benefits we expect. The second example is the parallel processes. We automatize the provisioning of the FTTH enterprise customers. Full process with network configuration, inventory, and so on. But we saw that there was other processes, internal of the network, migrations, and so on, that changes the same configuration we have provisioned. So that processes broke our provisioning system. So we had to analyze those parallel processes and automatize also to not break the main process we want to have. So the second lesson is that think not only in the main process you are going to automatize, but in the rest of processes that could affect the thing you are doing. And the third example is about the virtualization. We have a service to deliver enterprise security in an OpenStack environment. In the beginning, we started just provisioning the end users into the OpenStack environment and the virtual firewalls. This process evolved, and right now, we are able to operate all the environment related to this use case, and even detect the failure in the virtual firewalls and do an auto-healing. This proves that in a virtualized environment, it's easier to implement the automation up to 100%. In 2023, we did a step forward, and we developed a closed-loop assurance where we check the fixed configurations of all the IP routers, detect the things that are not compatible with the validated templates, and change the configurations automatically with no human interventions. And also, we developed a new way to implement the changes in the network to avoid the human implement it directly at night. We allow the users to schedule the work they have to do with a portal, and they are executed by NSO at night without any human intervention. In 2023, there was 3 big changes in the company. First, the number of use cases increased a lot. The complexity and the domains that covers that use cases also increased. And MasOrange, as a top management, decided to go directly for the autonomous network program. During this journey, Cisco has been a key partner for us, first working as a turnkey project, developing the first use case. In 2019, when we created the network automation team, Cisco was the one that supported us, giving us support in service, training the internal team, and also making the most complex developments. In 2023, when the increase of use cases and the complexity use cases made us see how can we deal to them, Cisco proposed us a change in the model, going to a squad model, where the Cisco CX team was integrated into the internal team, taking the responsibility end-to-end of the projects, and being more accurate in the developments. This made us more flexibility to achieve the performance and the workload of the new use cases. Also in 2023, when we started the autonomous network program, we trusted in Cisco to do an assessment for us to begin this journey. And Gil will now present the details of this assessment.
Thank you, Luis. Great job. So let me tell you a little bit about the methodology that we use for this assessment that we did on autonomous networks for Orange Spain, or MasOrange now. For that, we used an adapted version of a service that we call CPaaS. It's taken from this is from our CX advisory team. CPaaS stands for Customer Priorities Assessment Service. And it's a service that we also use for other technologies or domains like sustainability, cloud, and others. It consists of 3 phases. In the first phase, we look at the customer's business objectives, their vision, some strategic imperatives, some use cases, and their associated KPIs. And then, in the second phase, we assess the technical and operational capabilities that need to support these objectives. In the case of MasOrange, we actually skipped the second step because Orange had done or was already doing an internal maturity assessment against the TMF forum autonomy levels. So we decided that this step was not needed in this assessment. The third phase, we take the data and everything that we've done in the other phases, and we come up and produce a transformation roadmap and a high-level implementation plan for the next 3 years. The slides that I'll show you now, they are just kind of a snapshot of what we did. They represent the methodology and the approach that we took for this assessment more than the actual content. Okay, we don't have time to go through the details. And also, you will see that some details on the use cases themselves cannot be shared publicly. So bear with me if you see a lot of or some blurring in some of the slides. Hope it's okay. Right. So in the first place, and by the way, we gathered all this data through some quite long workshops with Orange Spain people, many engineers and people from many departments within Orange. We got them in the big room, also some in WebEx. And we used some design thinking techniques and lots of Miro boards. It was quite fun seeing all these sticky notes popping up from everywhere and moving them around and classifying. So after all this, in this process, we started capturing the what. What does the customer wants to do or achieve? And for that, we started defining the vision, and then some strategic imperatives. We grouped the strategic imperatives in a few themes, like fulfillment, quality of experience, validation and testing. And then, after we captured the what, we followed with the how. For the how, we gathered, we defined, we clarified and refined lots of use cases that matched all these different strategic imperatives and themes. And we got them all together. In the slide here, you see the example for fulfillment. Sorry, again, for the blurring, but just to get an idea. Also for the customer experience, we took another bunch of use cases for that theme. Now, as we collected quite a lot of use cases, I think it was almost 50 of them, we had to prioritize them, right? In order to do that, we followed a two-step approach. In the first step, we looked at each use case in terms of their impact and their feasibility. We'll see in a minute. Then in the second step, we evaluated and scored each of the use case against 5 different criteria factors. We will also see later. And finally, all these came up to a sorted and prioritized list that we used for the final transformation roadmap and implementation plan. Okay, for the first step for this filtering of use cases, we used the popular design thinking technique called the now, wow, how, chow. Quite a funny name. And we basically plotted all the ideas, all the use cases in this 4-color matrix, where the horizontal axis represents the impact. Does this use case bring a lot of impact or innovation, or not really? Then the vertical axis is the feasibility or complexity. Is this use case technically feasible? Do we have enough budget? Or do we have the required resources or enough time to implement it? So we use this method for filtering, and the result was this graphic. You see how we put all the use cases on these 4 quadrants. The coloring that you see represents the mapping that we did to the different network domains. You see on the right side with the different colors. And you will see that we then took this priority 1 and priority 2 red boxes, and we focused on only those, for the remaining of the assessment. The others were parked for later. Okay, KPIs, key performance indicators. In other words, what does success look like for the customer? So we took all these prioritized use cases, and we looked at the KPIs from 3 different angles or dimensions: cost, time, and quality. Cost. So can we save some cost? Obvious question. Time, can we decrease time to deploy or time to market? And quality, can we increase quality of experience? Can we improve some operational processes, and so on? So what we did is we took this framework, we gave it to MasOrange, and we asked them, now tell us in some simple statements, what does success look like for you on these 3 different areas for all the use cases that we've got? And they gave us this input, all these statements, that we then categorized and summarized in this table, in this slide, based on some value drivers or outcomes and some performance factors. And we built all this that then we used in the next step to come up with the actual KPIs, several KPIs for each of these value drivers and performance factors. There were many of them, and we knew that some of these KPIs the customer would be able to define and implement, but there would be many that they would not be able to define or implement because perhaps they would be missing some of the key data that they need for that KPI, or perhaps they will not be able to measure that particular KPI, right? In any case, from our CPaaS service, we provide several options, about 4 or 5 KPIs for each of these different areas. And then we tell the customer, now pick 1 or 2 that you can really measure and that you want to take forward. And that's what MasOrange is actually doing right now. They are measuring and quantifying some of these KPIs in their network. And that will help build kind of a business case and justify the future investment on their automation domain. Okay, the last step related to KPIs was to simply map all the prioritized use cases that we got against the different KPIs that we had defined. And here you see the result for the fulfillment theme, and we did the same for the other themes. And voila, this is a cool summary slide that summarizes all the things that we did in this first phase, in this, what we call the priorities radar. And if we look from the bottom, we see the vision. Then we see the different themes in orange, followed by the strategic imperatives. That's the blue band. And then for each strategic imperative, we have in the white blurry band, we have all the use cases, followed by all the KPIs associated to the use cases. This is kind of the summary output for the first phase of this assessment that we did. Okay? And now we will quickly move into the final phase of the assessment, which was to build this transformation roadmap based on the prioritized use cases. As I mentioned before, we did a 2-step prioritization or filtering step. In this second step, we scored each of the use case using some 5 specific criteria factors. You can see at the bottom of the slide: autonomy, maturity impact, OpEx reduction, customer satisfaction, revenue impact, and creation of new services. So we did this scoring, and then the result was filtering, was a kind of a sorted, prioritized list, again, of use cases that we used to build that final transformation roadmap that we'll see also later. Well, actually, this is the roadmap itself. Again, sorry for a bit of the blurred details, but hopefully you can make some sense out of it. basically, we put all the use cases that we had prioritized in this 3 years roadmap. The color code, again, represents the different network domains that each use case belongs to. And then you can see the different length of the boxes represent the estimated durations, and also how we estimated that they could be parallelized. The implementation would be done in parallel for many of those. And finally, in these yellow little triangles, you can see some of the prerequisites or key dependencies that some of these use cases had. So this was the outcome of this roadmap, this phase, and this was then leading to the very final step, which was building a high-level implementation plan for each of these use cases. We will just have a quick look to one example. But before we could analyze and break down and figure out, the different steps to implement each of these use cases, we had to, or we decided to use some reference standard-based frameworks. In particular, we looked at the ETSI, ZSM, Zero Touch Network and Services Management model, which actually aligns quite nicely with the TMF Forum framework as well. If we look at the ETSI one on the left, at the center we have the data or knowledge sources, repositories that are actually used by the other 4 functions. And then if we start kind of a circle from the bottom left side, we start by observing or collecting the data from the network that is then analyzed by the analytics function, which will provide some insights into the intelligence function, which, and very importantly, it will use some intent and will be helped by this famous hot topic AI/ML applications to derive or make some intelligent decisions. Those decisions may result in some actions that will be performed by the orchestration and control function that we see at the bottom. As you can see, we are doing this kind of a loop. We're closing the famous automation loop here. And now we'll see how we apply this model to one particular example, the use case 42, for example, where we had to do some changes to the network when some KPIs were degraded. So as you can see on the left side, we broke down this problem into multiple functional requirements, each of them mapping to the ETSI model, layers. Starting from the bottom, we have the data collection, analytics, intelligence, and orchestration and control. And for each of these functional requirements, then we looked how we should implement, what steps and how this should be implemented. And we did kind of the flow or the dependencies between all of these activities, right? We don't have time to go into the details here, but this is just showing you the methodology, right? How we use these frameworks, these standard-based, to break down each of the use case and come up with this implementation plan for each of them. This was the last step in our assessment that we did for MasOrange, and I believe it's also my last slide. Right, so this is the final. We will share some final thoughts and conclusions. For that, I will let Luis wrap up our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. Well, conclusions of this session is autonomy is not just automation, it goes beyond. And we cannot think that just automating some things is enough to have an autonomous network. The change must be done in the whole company or in the whole area. It's not just something that can manage one specific team or can be done with by one person. This journey is not new, started years ago. To complete it, you need to have a learning path to be aware of the complexity of the problem. Having a reliable partner, such as Cisco could be, is essential also to give us the help. And the journey is long. So take a breath, take it easy, and enjoy it by yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. That's a pretty amazing journey, and I'm sure there are at least a few folks that are a little jealous in the audience in terms of what you've managed to accomplish, because it's kind of the holy grail that everyone chases. So between where you are today and kind of full autonomy, what do you see as a major milestones, either technology-wise, people-wise, process-wise?
The major milestones has been first choose the correct tool. And there are many tools in the market that can be chosen, so it's difficult to choose the correct one. And then to convince the people to use the automation first, and to think in automation first. Right now, most of the people in MasOrange still thinks, no, I'm doing the things in the same way, I don't need to change. And we need to push that movement and that change in the mindset to let them think in automation first.
So it's a question for both of you. Do you see that conversation getting easier or harder as you progressed through the journey? Are people buying in and it's less resistance, or as you get closer, it gets harder?
There's a resistance. You need to break, but as you prove that automation works and you can do the things in a proper way, the people is convinced and is less reluctant to use the automation.
Okay. So this is a multi-year journey for you. If you were to start this again, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently, if anything?
Dedicate to other things. That no, I will do many things in a different way. Trying to push in from the scratch the change in the people, more than pushing to develop more and more automations, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. The cultural shift is probably the hardest to break and to push. On the question you asked about, I think Luis said it right. They chose the right tools from the beginning, right? But I think
I didn't pay him to say that, by the way. Just be clear.
But I'm convinced that they will need. They still need a lot more tooling to make this reality, and so I think that intelligent function that we talked about, those AI, ML, those intelligent decisions, are still to be found, right? I think we are all working to make that magic happen. So I think they are still missing that key piece. They are still missing also some other tooling on the network, like our crosswork portfolio and and things that will come. They just need time to go step by step. And yeah, the good thing is that we are together and we'll get to the sky, right?
The tools are not plug and play. Are plug and pray. You have to do many things with the tools to let them work.
Luckily, there's a whole room of people that love to talk to you about less praying we're doing. So, so before I let you go, Nicholas forgot to mention that we don't serve a lunch until we get questions from the audience. So Slido's been a little weak right now, but I'll give you a little bit of slack because I'm not sure we made it clear. So we have a little couple of minutes. We can take some questions from the audience. If you have anything live, otherwise we can go to break. Okay, but when we come back, I'm going to want to see some Slido questions, otherwise there's no lunch for anybody. We can do questions? Well, we have a... Yeah, we did those questions. I was ahead of the curve. In that case, we'll go to break, so come back at 10:30, and we'll start getting into some other cool stuff. So thank you, guys. Thank you. Very cool work.